What is up, people of the internet? And also the Freedom Stores are here and talking about how to start releasing unrealistic expectations of others in your life. So, for a lot of us, we hold ourselves to a very high standard. Everything needs to be perfect. Clothes, grades, exams, career, work, everything has to be on a very high level or almost perfect or even literally perfect. So this pattern very often comes from childhood where the caregivers or the parents were often very critical and they held you to a very, very high standard, almost unrealistic standard for a child or let's say globally for children. So this often happens when, children don't get to be children, humans and children very often make mistakes. But when you grow up in a very, very critical household, then let's say the standards that are maybe expected of grown-ups usually are put on the children as well. So these standards are put on the children too early as well. Very important to understand this, guys. And this is where the pattern often originates from. And as an adult now, you are in a place of I hold myself to a high standard. So very good in career and working life, obviously. But even in those areas, if you constantly want to be perfect, 100% perfect, everything needs to be perfect, then that can also lead to burnout very, very quickly. Now, the and the other important point is you also start to put out or even put that standard, that unrealistic standard on other people in your life. So this can mean your parents, this can mean your spouse, very important. This can mean your own children as well. So you're putting on this high expectancy, very, very unrealistic standard of everything needs to be perfect. And it not even only in career, but also in everyday duties. Nobody can make a mistake. If they make a mistake, maybe you lash out, or maybe there's a shame, maybe there's guilting, maybe there's yelling, maybe there's anger that can come out, or even passive aggressiveness directed towards your emotional manipulation can happen in those situations as well. So the first thing is to understand obviously where the pattern originates from, that I already covered. But the second part is start to understand and start to think about other people as human. So what are human? What are humans? Humans do make mistakes. We make mistakes, we get up, we learn, we grow through those mistakes. So it's a very, very human kind of nature to make mistakes at times and learn from mistakes and grow through those mistakes. So start to shift that everything needs to be perfect all the time because I'm afraid when everything is not perfect, somebody will yell and shame me. So this is very important also to understand, because there's usually a fear underneath it. This is one of the reasons you need to, control everything, get everybody up to that very, very high standard. If you don't get everything perfect, somebody in your consciousness, in your subconsciousness, very often, there's a fear that you will be shamed, yelled at, there will be anger towards you, and in the end, it's still the same. I will lose their love and appreciation if I'm not perfect all the time. So start to think about the people in your life, the children, the spouse. Very often the spouse and the children get the bulk of it. Very often the employees, maybe you have employees, get the bulk of it. You put those very, very high standards on them, and if they don't deliver, you start to put shame, guilt, anger, all these negative things towards them. And if you start to manage to think of them as human, and humans make mistakes, remember, and they learn from these mistakes, start to internalize that as well. I'm a human, this is a very natural thing actually to not be perfect all the time. And if I'm not perfect, it doesn't immediately mean that I will lose people's love and lose, other things in my life. And I will give you like a tiny exercise to go with it as well. Whenever you start to notice you're controlling of things or wanting to make everything perfect, and you're tired and you're overwhelmed and you just can't do it basically anymore, but you still kind of push and push and push, let yourself, allow yourself, let everything go in that moment, and allow some of the things to not be perfect. And maybe you need to publish some of the things you just think in your mind. You're scared, oh my god, it's not perfect, oh my god, they will think this, da da da. The mind starts running. Allow yourself to do it once in a while and start to see if people are, so critical of you. Maybe there are one or two that are very critical, but the bulk, and this I know will happen, the bulk of the people won't even notice the imperfections in your, maybe it's work, maybe it's something else that you're putting out there, or even cleaning. It's very often I see this with people who like to clean, almost, crazily, obsessively. They want to clean, to make everything extremely cleanly. And this is again the same pattern that I already shared, guys. Hope this helps. Start to think of yourselves as human beings, not machines, and understand that making mistakes and being human actually is part of your experience on this planet.